What is at stake is more than one small country. It is a big idea, a new world order.
What we in America call terrorists are really groups of people that reject the international system.
Our war on terror begins with Al-Qaeda, but it does not end there. It will not end until every terrorist group of global reach has been found, stopped, and defeated.
On October 26, 2001, President George W. Bush signed the Patriot Act, which gave law enforcement broader authority to investigate and prosecute suspected terrorists. Now, that signing ceremony.
Existing law was written in the era of rotary telephones. This new law that I signed today will allow surveillance of all communications used by terrorists, including emails, the internet, and cell phones.
Trent Lott said the day the bill was introduced, maybe now we can do things we've wanted to do for the last 10 years.
No, I've always, a dictatorship would be a heck of a lot easier. There's no question about it.
I mean, they had all this on the shelf somewhere, ideas of things they would like to do. And they got 9/11 and they said, it's our chance, go for it.
There was an immediate assumption on the part of the administration that there had to be a surrender of certain of our rights.
There's several definitions in the bill that are quite troubling. First of all, the definition of terrorist, and it's so expansive that it could include people who...
Like me.
No one read it. That's the whole point. They wait till the middle of the night, they drop it in the middle of the night, it's printed in the middle of the night, and the next morning when we come in, it passes.
How could Congress pass this Patriot Act without even reading it?
Sit down, my son. We don't read most of the bills. Do you really know what that would entail if we were to read every bill that we passed? Well, the good thing, it would slow down the legislative process.
I believe if you take what has been happening since in kind of our post 9/11 security world, what you're seeing is the establishment of a surveillance society. You're seeing the establishment of a surveillance network. And I keep telling people don't realize the extent to which we're already surveilled in many, many different ways. The extent to which vast amounts of our own transactional data in all forms, all electronic forms and emails and your tweets and bank records and everything else are all subject or suspect, okay, in terms of surveillance. It raises the specter of kind of the rise of soft tyranny. It raises the specter of you're automatically suspicious until we prove that you're not. It raises the specter of a universal, I would call it a universal wiretap, a persistent universal wiretap on every single person. Or if it's not, they can create one. Because, and what happens if they don't like you? What happens if you speak ill will against the government? What happens if you say something they consider disloyal? I mean, that's not the country that I took an oath to defend 4 times in my government career. And you also have the fear element. Fear in itself is control. And what people will do when they're fearful is they will begin to censor themselves.
Fear works.
Fear does work, yes. You can make people do anything if they're afraid.
And how do you make them afraid?
Well, you make them afraid by creating an aura of endless threat.
The world has changed after September the 11th. It's changed because we're no longer safe.
We've entered what may very well prove to be the most dangerous security environment the world's known.
Terrorists are doing everything they can to gain even deadlier means of striking us.
8 years after the Patriot Act became law, Congress now has the power to either keep it, reform it, scrap it, or some combination of those tactics. Now, former President Bush signed the Patriot Act after 9/11 to help fight terrorism. The act essentially gives law enforcement agencies the power to look through people's phone records and emails for potential terrorist plots. But many people say that the Patriot Act is an invasion of their privacy and opens the door for abuses of power. But now, 8 years later, President Obama has told lawmakers that he wants to reauthorize 3 parts of the act that were set to expire later this year.
What the intelligence community is doing is looking at phone numbers and durations of calls, but by sifting through this so-called metadata, they may identify potential leads with respect to folks who might engage in terrorism. My assessment and my team's assessment was that they help us prevent terrorist attacks.
Since it was signed into law in October 2001, the Patriot Act has become a subject of increasing controversy. According to scholars such as Elliot Minksberg, Director for People for the American Way, the Justice Department has used terrorism as a guise to expand law enforcement powers in areas that are totally unrelated to terrorism. It's true that the Patriot Act has been used to investigate non-terroristic crimes. In fact, the intelligence community was waiting for the opportunity to pass this sort of legislation. Far from being custom-made legislation designed as a reaction to 9/11, the Patriot Act is instead an amalgamation of various powers the intelligence community has wanted for years. Yet it seems these expanded powers still fall short of some agencies' desires. In 2005, Dan Egan of The Washington Post published a story exposing several FBI violations of secret surveillance laws, including improperly seizing email and bank records and conducting an unconsented physical search. These findings have caused researchers like David Sobel, the General Counsel of the Electronic Privacy Information Center, to speculate that this is simply the tip of the iceberg. What other abuses are out there?
What is actually happening out there on the web and on your phones? We are surveyed 100% in everything we are doing. And to understand that, you have to understand everything about big data. You've probably heard about big data. It's a buzzword these days, right?
Hello? I got a letter in the mail, basically a warrant.
What is it?
This is you. This is Jerry Shaw. A series of purchases, preferences, and quantifiable data points that we define as your personality. We monitor every social network, internet logs, instant and text messages, known associates, your friends, companions, emails received and sent, cell phone usage. We utilize security, surveillance, and traffic cameras to analyze movements. We use this data to form personality profiles. We know who you are. We are everywhere.
And what can that data be used for? It's only up to your own imagination. Another example of big data is Instagram. A lot of you are probably using Instagram. Why did Facebook pay a value higher than the New York Times? It was an app making no money. 2 years old, 13 people work there. It's because of data. There's so much data in Instagram. Of course, also because it's a mobile app. But there's so much data behind every picture. Every single picture, you tell Facebook where you took it and who took it. And then this whole social graph, you're sharing everything with your friends.
Oh my God. I should have realized. I mean, they monitor everything, absolutely everything.
Elaborate on they.
They. Well, there's lots of groups, actually, lots of initials. I mean, CIA, FBI, IMF, you name it. They.
The National Security Agency conducts worldwide surveillance, fax, phones, satellite communication. Why are they after me? I don't know, and I don't want to know.
My name's Ed Snowden. I'm 29 years old. I work for Booz Allen Hamilton as an infrastructure analyst for NSA in Hawaii.
Talk a little bit about how the American surveillance state actually functions. Does it target the actions of Americans?
NSA and the intelligence community in general is focused on getting intelligence wherever it can by any means possible that it believes on the grounds of sort of a self-certification that they serve the national interest. Originally, we saw that focus very narrowly tailored as foreign intelligence gathered overseas. Now, increasingly, we see that it's happening domestically. And to do that, the NSA specifically targets the communications of everyone. It ingests them by default. It collects them in its system, and it filters them, and it analyzes them, and it measures them, and it stores them for periods of time, simply because that's the easiest, most efficient, and most valuable way to achieve these ends. So while they may be intending to target someone associated with a foreign government or someone that they suspect of terrorism, they're collecting your communications to do so.
I don't understand. I don't understand. Why me? Why me? I am nobody. I am nothing. But they knew everything about me. They knew what I ate. They knew what I drank. They knew what movies that I watched. They knew where I was from. They knew what cigarettes I used to smoke and everything they did. They must have watched on the internet. I don't know. Watched my credit cards. Our whole lives are on the computer, and they knew.
Why should people care about surveillance?
Because even if you're not doing anything wrong, you're being watched and recorded, and the storage capability of these systems increases every year consistently by orders of magnitude to where it's getting to the point you don't have to have done anything wrong. You simply have to eventually fall under suspicion from somebody, even by a wrong call, and then they can use the system to go back in time and scrutinize every decision you've ever made, every friend you've ever discussed something with, and attack you on that basis to sort of derive suspicion from an innocent life and paint anyone in the context of a wrongdoer.
See, the government's been in bed with the entire telecommunications industry since the 40s. They've infected everything. They can get into your bank statements, your computer files, your email, listen to your phone calls.
My wife's been saying that for years.
Every wire, every airwave. The more technology you use, the easier it is for them to keep tabs on you. It's a brave new world out there.
But just think about it. Just think about it. Our whole world is sitting there on a computer. It's in the computer. Everything. Your DMV records, your Social Security, your credit cards, your medical history, it's all right there. Everyone is stored, and there's like this little electronic shadow on each and every one of us just begging for somebody to screw with. And you know what? They've done it to me, and you know what? They're gonna do it to you.
The greatest fear that I have regarding the outcome for America of these disclosures is that nothing will change. People will see in the media all of these disclosures. They'll know the lengths that the government is going to grant themselves powers unilaterally to create greater control over American society and global society. but they won't be willing to take the risks necessarily to stand up and fight to change things, to force their representatives to actually take a stand in their interests. And the months ahead, the years ahead, it's only going to get worse.
If you want a picture of the future, imagine a boot stamping on a human face forever. The moral to be drawn from this dangerous nightmare situation is a simple one. Don't let it happen. It depends on you.